Hi everyone, today we are having Thomas, a co-founder at NADMAH. NADMAH is a Dubai-based incubator, and thank you so much for coming today.
My pleasure to be here, guys. Thank you so much.
Yeah, let's start. What was the most unexpected challenge in your Web3 journey, and was there a moment that made you realize this is the industry of the future?
Yeah, I think again, I've only been in the industry for a short time. I think the biggest challenge I faced so far was mainly on building a strong network of trust. There's a lot of service providers, a lot of partners that we work with. And we've been scammed and burned by a lot of them, even in this short time span. So I think the biggest lesson always is, how to help your partners so that doesn't happen, especially like as a consultancy firm, as an incubator, even as like a simple advisor. It becomes very monotonous that will happen at some point. And so it becomes more about like, how do you recover from that? How do you learn so that doesn't happen again? So I'd say that would be, in terms of one of the biggest pain points that we've faced, that would be like as a company. And yeah, I think obviously as the industry evolves, there's more and more people that come in that elicit some type of scam or some trust that, is always broken. So I think that's always an important thing for people to keep in mind is, you should only trust people that you've built trust with, not just someone who, says a promise but doesn't deliver anything.
Yeah, totally agree. Yeah, and how long have you been working in the industry? Since when?
Yeah, so personally, I've been in the industry for just over 3 years. I came into the industry originally from event management. So before I was in event management, helping out a lot of companies in Dubai. I then transitioned to make our first company, which was Crypto Executives, which was a consultancy firm and basically helping people network, helping people advise companies. And then NADMAH, we started just over 2 years ago. And again, NADMAH is purely focused on network, advisory, fundraising, and of course the event side, which comes from my personal background.
Okay. Yeah. And regarding events, you've participated in over 50 or 60 global conferences. What was the best one? Which event impressed you the most and why?
Yeah, I think that statistic has definitely increased. At the moment now, we've been hosting events for myself just over 3.5 years. So we have one event we run called Scale, which is with the government of Dubai and GAF Capital. So that we've done 25 editions of. We've also done 8 editions of SUI Connect. And we're also going to be starting soon with some big partners for some larger events in Dubai. Honestly, the event quality in Dubai is quite lackluster. Overall, a lot of the big events have lost quality over the years. The more that they continue, the less people want to come to them. So I would say in terms of like the quality of the networking and the quality of the people, the best events I've been to would be Dev Connect for sure in Istanbul, in Bangkok, Thailand. And aside from that would probably be Global Blockchain Congress, which is an investor event that's hosted in Dubai, London, and Istanbul, which has just like a very tight-knit community of investors that always are like willing to network with everyone.
Okay, thanks. And let's talk about NADMAH. What makes NADMAH different from other Web3 incubators?
Yeah, so I think there's a simple and a complicated way to answer this. Again, NADMAH is like every other consultancy firm. We provide services to clients, but NADMAH is unique in terms of our team and in terms of our network. So we've refined our network to a point that, a year ago, we had somewhere around 2,000 partners we were working with. We now have about 200, which means that any project that comes through us has specific partners allocated for everything. So that's why like in NADMAH, we try to make it as long-term as possible. So when we take on a project, they might even just be in like ideation stage, just getting the ideas for their product. We will take them from there through documentation, tokenomics, go to market, all of the partners, all of the fundraising they need. and then we take them past that to their launch and post token launch, if they have a token, of course. So, in that approach, we're unique. And again, one thing we always do is we don't compete with other incubators. We don't compete with advisory firms. We work with them. So that way, we can combine strengths with our partners rather than making it more of a toxic industry. So yeah, I'd say in terms of like approach, strategy, and network would be our like three big ones.
Okay, thank you. Very interesting. And how do you determine whether a project is truly promising, and what are the key factors?
Yeah, it's a hard question. Again, like for the projects that we work with in the long term, it's, of course, the team is the first thing. That's simple. Like if there's a synergy, if we feel like, this team is really good, we really resonate with them, that's obviously a great value add. Of course, there has to be a good product. I'm a very big fan of design myself, product design, and always in design, we say you cannot create a product without a customer. So if there is, in Web3, there's a lot of copy and paste when it comes to products. So we always have to look and see, okay, like this is the product, these are the users for the product. So that way, like for us, anything that is consumer based is very important in terms of product. And of course, with all the hype and trends that are going around at the moment, like AI, meme coins, AI agents, that becomes even more important. So yeah, team and product is the first two things. Of course, traction is good, but again, at NADMAH, we don't really require that because we build up everything in terms of traction, whether that's like partners, community, investors. So yeah, I'd say we have a very low bar for the kind of projects we work with, but that's just because in general, we enjoy like the process of building up the ecosystem of the project.
Okay, thanks. Great answer. Could you maybe name some projects that you're especially proud of that you incubated?
Yeah, so in the recent months, we incubated two projects, which actually the founders are brothers, which is EC and Zyro. So those projects are now being incubated by CoinMarketCap Labs. They've got very, very successful tokens. Again, all of the projects that we incubate, we also build out their token economies. So that way, when we see the token launch, we can be proud of that because we know we designed it. Some other projects that we're working with at the moment, a few AI companies like Octavia, Renatus. We've also got some more traditional companies that are coming in from like an education background or from a tech background into Web3. One of them is Legacy Network, which is a huge educational institution partnered with hundreds of universities. So yeah, we've got a very interesting mix. And I think what aligns them all at the moment is every one of our projects is trying to integrate AI, and they're trying to, really capture that market segment in a unique way. So, yeah.
Yeah, thanks. And what do you think? What are the most common founders' mistakes?
I think in Web3, there's always a mistake I call copy paste, which is, copying and pasting the idea for a project. That's the most damaging, but then it goes deeper, right? People copying tokenomics, people copying marketing. The lack of original ideas with founders is something that shouldn't really be there. Because again, like when you're a founder, you put all your creativity into the project to make it successful. And that's not something that's lacking in Web3. There's a lot of creativity, but people are just lazy now. Especially when it comes to AI and when it comes to, I've been talking a lot recently on AMAs about like low code, no code, where you literally don't need developers anymore to develop a full product. So that way it becomes, low cost, low effort, and low creativity to create something that, people call like, their company. And that's why I always like to compare, like, are you building a company or are you building a project? Because a project is like a hobby. Like that means that if it fails, you can do another one. But if it's a company, then it's something that you're working towards, and it's something that you're willing to put like all of your resources forward for that to be successful, right? So yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Thank you. And what was the worst pitch you ever heard? And what was wrong there?
Well, I won't name names for sure, but we've heard some very interesting pitches. Put it that way. I think what makes a pitch, let's say, weak is always delivery. Like you could have a terrible project, but you could deliver the pitch very well and you can raise tons of money. Like we've seen it happen. We had one project that raised 3.5 million in 3 days. With almost no products. So that's, an example, right? Like it's almost the same in traditional business where if you have a strong brand, that is more powerful than having a good product or a good pitch. So if you have a strong brand, for example, like if you pitch and you're saying like, we're backed by Animoca Brands, A16Z, ChangeGPT, then automatically people's minds switch to strong projects. So I think the worst pitches we've heard is when people actually have a strong project but don't know how to deliver like the information that investors want to hear, right? So that's also like when we do fundraising, we always, instead of just pushing them to the funds, we give them pitch practice, right? So we will get on calls like this. We'll bring some of our investors on board and we just give them feedback and very, very honest feedback to the point where they're like, oh yeah, that's actually really bad. And then they change it step by step. So when we implement it, then they can pitch by themselves and they can actually engage investors properly. So, yeah.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, this is very helpful. And what do you think? How can Web3 startups convince investors to back them, especially now when the market is like cautious?
Yeah, at the moment now, despite personally not really liking it, there's 4 main factors which influence investors' decisions, which number 1 is, of course, product. Unfortunately, probably the least important at the moment. The top 3 is traction. So like who are your launchpads, who are your exchanges, who are your VCs, who is your advisors, community. That's the first one. Second one is community. So like, how many followers do you have? Again, for some reason, it doesn't matter if it's not organic. That's just how the space is now. So you can have 300K and people will approve that and not question it. And then the third thing is most likely, I think, still narrative. So as you've seen as well, like we have roughly 180 investors in our network in terms of VCs. And at the moment, 140 of them are investing in AI. So, and almost none of them, maybe like 5 or 6 are investing in gaming. Now, 6 months ago, we had 120 VCs investing in gaming. So narrative shift is huge. Again, it's something that a lot of people don't like, but if you follow it, it brings benefits to the project. So yeah, but those would be, I think, like the main 4 that we've at least seen from our investors.
Yeah, thanks. Very interesting statistic. And what do you think? How does the Web3 market changed over the last 3 years? And what trends do you see shaping the next 2 years, for example?
Yeah, I think in the last 3 years, of course, there's been a lot of change. There's been a lot of on and off trends in gaming, AI, memes. But I think the overall biggest change has been like the volume in the market. Obviously, there was a huge volume shift towards meme coins during the meme hype of end of last year. There was almost 42% of the market was just memes. And there was, I think, a statistic on Deck Screener where there was like 200 to 300 memes launched a second, which was absolutely insane. Like it was pumping out volume on Solana so fast that Solana couldn't keep up with their own block traffic. So that is a trend that will keep going. Memes will always be there as kind of like a backbone to the market, as well as altcoins. And I think in terms of trends, again, AI is a very strong one that will stay because it's not just a Web3 trend. It's in traditional markets. It's being used. It's a technology that people are actually working on. So I think that's a big thing. Consumer tech, again, still is always going to be huge because it's the only way for people to actually use proper token economies. So if those were the two trends for the rest of the year, I would be happy. But I have a feeling that gaming or something more niche will come back, maybe towards the end of the year. But again, for the moment, like the trends are very strong. The investors are all on board. So it seems very solidified for the moment.
Totally. Yeah. Thank you. And if you had to remove 80% of Web3 projects, startups from the market to leave only the strongest, what criteria would you use?
Yeah, I think it would be like trying to find the root projects, which is a strange term, but basically what I mean by that is trying to find the projects from where these other projects came from. Like for example, like ChainGPT, they made like HyperGPT, GPTverse, GPT AI, education. You know, there's always a core project where everything stems from. And if those like core projects were to be kept, the market would be the same. And then all the volume from all the other projects that are, you know, not actually doing anything would be directed to them. And that would make more of a positive effect in the market. That would be maybe one idea. The other idea would just to be completely wipe out everything that only uses tokens for, you know, like staking governance and rewards. Because in my mind, that's not a token economy. That's just like another financial incentive to build a pyramid scheme. So that also provides no value to the market. So yeah, that would maybe be my two ideas.
Yeah, thanks. And also, many people say that Web3 is just hype, where projects created solely for quick profits. How do you respond to them?
Again, I understand where they come from. Again, like everyone does it. You know, like even when the meme hype was there, we were investing in memes personally because it was fun. So I would say like if you're a proper well-built company, don't like go off on tangents and make meme coins or make AI tools, but make something that is actually going to be integrated into your platform. So like if you're an educational institution, make an AI tool yourself that is actually going to like improve the lives of students, help with educating people about blockchain, small things like this. That way you can market it as if you're following the trend, but you actually have something that your users will be interested in. So that way it's better. That it's not like hype following, because I do know people, a lot of founders that develop projects just for that trend. And that's usually where you see like very rushed projects, very bad fundraising. And usually they will be a case where they'll raise like a few mil and then they'll just disappear. So yeah, it's a tough thing to balance, I guess.
Yeah, it is totally. Yeah, speaking about NADMAH, where do you see NADMAH in 5 years?
Yeah, this is something that we've been discussing internally as well. Like again, NADMAH is a very simple company. This year we are opening up like a marketing sidearm, not to become an agency, but because we've been burnt by a lot of our marketing partners, you know, like not communicating, not providing good service. So that's something that we want to give is like a more traditional brand focused marketing approach with our advisory. That's the first thing for sure. We're very excited for that. We also invest like small sums with our portfolio investors. We do want to increase that, probably to make either more of a liquid fund or more of a traditional fund. So we would be investing in like more liquid assets and of course our portfolio projects. And yeah, I don't know, again, like the whole vision of scaling NADMAH is to become, you know, something more of an ecosystem, right? So that when a project or when any company comes into the ecosystem, there is, you know, different hubs where people can come and do like anything they need in terms of the project. So whether it's development, marketing, documentation. So yeah, like as of in 6 months, we hope to cover everything apart from development, which we have our partners for, of course. And then from then on, yeah, we have to start thinking more seriously about what we're going to be doing for sure.
Okay, yeah, good luck with that. And Thomas, if you were launching your own startup in Web3, what niche would it be?
Yeah, that's something I've never thought about, to be honest, but we've seen like projects very close up. I would maybe be able to say what I wouldn't do, which I wouldn't do gaming, I wouldn't do metaverse, I would not do NFTs. Again, like something that is actually consumer based would be interesting. And like, again, it would be more around like my personal hobbies, right? So whether it's around something like in the event world, in the design world, where you're serving an existing customer base, that would be my preference. And I would probably also initially develop something without a token just to kind of gauge interest, because as soon as a token comes into play, people are only interested in the monetary value and they don't really see like anything else. Like the project becomes secondary. So yeah, something in that realm. That's why like if you build something based off your passions and you put like your passion into that, then it becomes much easier for you to get a user base because they're the same people as you in that way.
Yeah, thank you. Awesome. And what's the most valuable lesson you've learned in Web3? And if you can only give one advice to a startup founder, which advice it would be?
Yeah, most valuable lesson is to never treat your partners badly, that's for sure. If you give value to your partners or your projects or your friends, whoever, they will give you something back. But if you leave your partners and you don't say anything, then of course they're not going to give you anything, right? So yeah, building relationships is key in Web3. So I think that also would be my one piece of advice, which is like build and nurture your relationships properly, because no matter, even if you just do that, you will get value back, because, you know, when you go to launch a project or when you go to build something, you will have people there to support. Like even one small funny example I like to use is like I have a history as an event organizer. So I've never paid for an event in my life. I've never bought a ticket, never bought a party ticket. So even in crypto, like every single event we go to, we have a ticket. And that's just because of network. Like if I didn't have that network, for example, on Sunday, there's an event in Dubai. It's $600 a ticket. I asked one guy, can I have a ticket? He's like, of course, man. Like, I'd love to have you there. So simple things like this, you know, it brings so much value that people like don't even realize.
Totally. Yeah. And what's one thing about Web3 that most people don't understand, but should?
I think, that would be the technology. I think for an example as well here, like I'm originally from Australia. A lot of my family's still in Australia. And Australia is in like probably the most cut off part of the world from crypto. Well, Australia, New Zealand, that kind of continent. So whenever I talk to them about crypto, I'm like, oh, I work in crypto. And their minds instantly go to two things, which is scams and Bitcoin, because that's just what the normal person thinks of it, right? So I think with like crypto, it should be more about technology, because when Bitcoin came around, it was to be an additional security and financial layer on top of the banking system that already exists, so that it would be decentralized, right? But that mission has been completely lost in like the last 5 years. And so I think, honestly, the industry, if it was possible, could have like a hard reset where people would go back and see like, okay, this is exactly what the technology was meant to be used for, and actually implement that into the companies and projects. But again, that's very hard because now more than ever, cryptocurrency is being acquired by banks, governments, institutions, as I'm sure you guys might have seen as well, like BlackRock now holds more Bitcoin than Satoshi Nakamoto. And that's one example. Like they also hold ETH, they hold meme coins. The US government holds meme coins. Like it's on like now like an institutional level where people just kind of have to now understand like Web3 is becoming centralized, and you can keep preaching decentralization, but Web3 is not decentralized, the technology is. So if that kind of balance can be found properly, then I think that would be like the next logical step forward in terms of the industry.
Thank you for explanation. Yeah, totally. And what was the defining moment in your career that made you feel you were in the right place?
I think that was probably like 1 year into NADMAH's journey. Again, NADMAH is a very small team. It's me, my other co-founder, and one BD. So we're very, very small. And I think it was actually at an event that we did, which was called Scale. And it was when like we walked in the room, just, very simple event. We were pitching. We walked in the room and every single person in the room knew us. And it wasn't like, it's Thomas and Emre, like, oh, cool. We like them. It was like, they come up, they hug us. We're like, this is like such an amazing feeling. And then that kept happening. And so we were like, so this is what we're good at. This is what we're good at. It's networking. So that was probably the first realization. Like, even if I was to leave crypto, I would go either back into something that involved networking, like something BD related, or even something back into the event space, right? Because, the ability to talk to people is something that's like super underlooked, and Web3 does that part very right. So I think, that was at least like a small turning point for me for sure.
Yeah, thank you, totally. And how can people talk to you? How can people connect with you and NADMAH if they want to collaborate?
Yeah, so again, the lame way is on our website. We have like forms and stuff and social media, etc. But yeah, of course, like any way that people want to reach out to us, we're always happy to take any questions or anything. And of course, we're in Dubai. So anyone that wants to meet in person, we run at least 3 events a month. And we're always at our own events. So, we're very easy to find, especially within this little ecosystem.
Yeah, thank you so much, Thomas, for coming, and wish you just lots of luck with NADMAH and everything. And hope to see you on your events somewhere in Dubai.
Yeah, thank you so much as well. And I hope there was some insightful knowledge given from my side.
I had fun, and I'm sure it's helpful and full of insights for our listeners. Bye-bye.
Well, good night. Thank you so much.